welcome to the first ever episode of the new Inside Line podcast hosted by me, Chris Moss. In this new series, we'll be bringing you insight and stories from the world of motorcycling. We speak to the likes of top racers, engineers and designers, globetrotters and journalists who recount some of their best and often untold stories. In this first episode, we talk to MotoGP racer and test rider and former world champion, Sylvain Guintoli, who lifts the lid on his behind-the-scenes role of developing a factory prototype Grand Prix bike.
So the testing role, like you said, it is a bit of a behind-the-scene role, and it involves, well, basically what the job involves is doing some testing sessions. So you normally test all day, testing normally it's quite well organized and like I said, for example, the testing day is we're not just testing random stuff. It's all like kind of preset. We got a very strict plan on how things are going to go, how many laps I need to do, and it's very organized. For us, it starts in February, in the Sepang test. So I do both there, and I've been doing so for the last 3 years. So 3 day Sepang Zero, we call it, which is just the testers. And we ride for 3 days there, full on, and then there's 2 days off, and then another 3 days with the other GP riders.
Right, so quite an intense schedule.
Yeah, it's intense. I mean, the testing is intense because you have to ride all day. Like in Sepang, for example, I did about 300 laps in the 6 days, and yeah, it's yeah, you got it, and you can't go slow. You have to be testing stuff, and for it to be relevant, you have to like go as fast as you can. So yeah, it's in that respect, it's you need some endurance. Yeah.
They need some endurance, yes. I mean, you surprised me by the number of laps there. You know when you've done it, I would imagine, at the end.
Yeah, it's physical job, so I've got to keep in shape. It's keeping me in shape as well. And then after that, we've got, this is the biggest one of the year. Like the first one it's quite extreme, and it's in Malaysia, so it's very hot. And then after that, in the year we've got, so last year, for example, I had 3 wildcards. I also did a replacement in Silverstone when Joan was injured. So I'm there for any replacement in case they need me. And then the wildcards help me to keep some like race rhythm, and and then we got testing between. So I go to Motegi to Japan quite a bit, and then we go over test in Europe as well. Like testing in Europe.
What are the rules? Can you test as often as you like, wherever you like, or are you restricted?
So the rules, there's different rules for different manufacturers. So, we got the manufacturers with concession, we call it. So these are the manufacturers that don't have, I think it's like 3 points, or there's a point system where they have to like come in the top 3 and you score points. So Suzuki is not part of those now. Suzuki is with the main, the non-concession manufacturers. The concession ones are Aprilia and KTM. So because of that, we are quite restricted. Well, we're restricted with testing. We can only test on 3 nominated tracks, except the official test. So all official tests don't count. But at the start of the year, the team nominates 3 tracks, and we can test on these tracks as much as we want, but it's limited by the tire allocation. The way it works is each factory rider, so Alex and Joan, they have 120 tires each allocated for testing, and this is their allocation for themselves and for me. So basically, there's 240 tires for the 3 of us.
And is it policed, Silvan?
Yeah, it's restricted and it's controllable because obviously doing any kind of testing without the MotoGP tires are like a special spec. You can't just buy them anywhere. They're all numbered. When they're used, Michelin gets them back. There's no tire going anywhere. So because obviously they want to keep their know-how, and they don't want anything coming out. So the tires are all basically each tire is individual and they know where it is. So they can control who uses which tire for how long and where, and then this tire gets back to them anyway. So it's quite a lot of logistic going on there, but that's the way they polish it.
Now, you were talking about the schedule. When you arrive at the track, if not before, you know exactly what you're testing for how long. Is that very much strictly adhered to then, that schedule? Do you not drift from it?
I would say there is a plan. There's a plan, and we try and get through the plan. Normally, we can. I mean, now the test team is a separate entity, and we have technicians and even on the managing side, it's all completely separated from not separated, but it's a separate entity that runs itself basically. And then we have obviously close technical links with the mother team. But we are now very, very organized. They know what we're going to have time to do, and obviously then we got weather conditions and stuff, so we have to adapt as well. But yeah, roughly we come to a test where the test is structured, and we know kind of what we're going to test and where it might go, because if something is negative, then we might just put it away and go another direction. But we kind of like there's not much guessing. It's running through the schedule, and for me to give feedback on whatever we test.
I mean, can you give us an idea of the sort of things that you go to test specifically?
Yeah, we test on every front. Suzuki is very we're all very curious. We want to understand where where there is gains to be made and explore as well. So we test on every front. I mean, we obviously there is quite a lot of time that is spent on development of the and testing of the when there is a new engine coming, because that is something, because of the non-concession rules, that we can't change during the year. So once the engine is chosen, we have to keep it for the whole year. So we've got to be sure. And so we there's a lot going on with that. There's always like electronics strategies.
Just going back to the engine, Silvan, what sort of things are you looking for? Are you trying to make the delivery as usable as possible?
Basically, what you want, and what every manufacturer is after, is more power without compromising the character.
Yeah. And what sort of things do you need to change? Is that all done electronically once they've built the motor, or do they change camshafts and compression and exhaust systems, etc., to alter the way it delivers its power at the test?
No, I mean, an engine, no matter what engine it is, even if it's like a road bike engine, they all have a character. And this really is very, very, very hard to then modify or compensate for it. So basically, I'll say like the DNA of the engine, the way it's built and the way it delivers its power, its positive and negative torque, is kind of like a very, very hard then to alter. So once the engine, like as in the block, is done, we know straight. I mean, we kind of know straight away if that is something that is potentially is going to be good, or if it's not. I can feel that. I can tell that straight away. We work more on like getting and then like an engine character. So basically the work is not done. Is mainly done at the on the design tables. My job is to say there is potential in this and we can make it work, or let's not waste any more time.
How honest can you be with the engineers?
I'm always very honest. If something is not working or that there's no chance that it will, I'll just tell them straight away. Yeah, that's the best way, because otherwise you just waste everybody's time.
Is that very disappointing for everyone when that occurs?
No, I think it's well, obviously we prefer to find positives, but then you can't always do, and especially now that we have a very good bike, it's getting very, very hard.
You talked about positive and negative torque. What did you mean by that?
The positive torque is the way they deliver the power when you accelerate, and the negative torque is when you decelerate, and that is very important as well.
What controls that primarily? Is it electronics, the negative torque?
No, well, you can help with the electronics, but again, the negative torque is just like the positive torque. It's built in the engine. It's the way the engine is designed.
Right. Yeah, that fascinates me. Is it the way it shuts down its power then? It's not just the slipper clutch, it's not just the electronics. Is it the way the the engine sort of reduces its power?
I'll say take a twin cylinder bike, 1000cc twin cylinder. When you roll off the throttle, it doesn't feel the same at all as a 4 inline, and it will never do. But then in the same family of engines, like 4 inlines, you also get very different characters. So yes, there is differences there, and the level that we are in GP, every little difference makes eventually makes like a podium or not.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that you've got 3 designated tracks. Which ones are they, and did Suzuki choose them?
Yeah, Suzuki choose them. Suzuki management choose them. Last year they were Motegi, because we go and test there quite a bit. I think last year was Motegi, Brno, and Jerez. This year I'm not sure actually yet, because obviously we haven't been yet.
Are they chosen to help you set the bike up for virtually any sort of scenario, any of the GP tracks?
Yeah, it's part of it, and it's also with convenience. Every manufacturer at the start of the year has to declare their 3 testing tracks. So that's that. I think, like, for example, Ducati have a Mugello and Misano and something else. Also for them, it's really convenient because they can just go and test. So for us, Motegi is great. Yamaha has Motegi as well, and Honda as well, because obviously it's easy for the Japanese manufacturers to go and test there. And Motegi is a relevant track as well. So yeah, it depends of the manufacturer as well for the convenience and what they see in what the track can bring to them.
At the beginning of the year, at the very first test, is that when the bike is effectively at its worst, and do you try to improve it from then on?
No, it's a continuous work. There's really no, like, start of the year the bike is complete. Well, not for us anyway. It's a continuous work.
Do you enjoy it?
Oh, I love it. Yeah. I love it. I get to ride. I mean, this bike to ride is a fantastic bike to ride. You can't. There's nothing else like riding a GP bike. So yeah, I love it. I like it, and I found it really interesting. The technical side is very interesting, and also the guys that I'm working with, the Suzuki, not only the management but also the guys I'm working with are great. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's really fulfilling in many ways. Yeah.
You mentioned the fact that the MotoGP bike is like nothing else. I know that you recently rode the GSXR 1000 road bike, but is the MotoGP bike in an entirely different league when it comes to performance?
I mean, the road bike, though, bloody hell, on track is unbelievable. I mean, it is really good. The GP bike is a project that is 100% designed to be a track animal, so it's going to feel different.
Is the GP bike well managed enough to be used on the road, do you think? Or is it a monster?
Yeah, no, the engine, like the way it delivers its power and that is, obviously you could not really use the power on the road because
of course.
Yeah, it's way too many. I mean, to be fair, even the road bikes, you can't use all the power. They're very fast.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you could. I mean, if you're fitting some tires that would actually work, like say that would suit the road, you could use it.
How complex is that MotoGP bike? How many permutations are there to get either right or wrong? Is it easy to go in the wrong direction sometimes with the setup? Or there are so many things that you can adjust, aren't there? With chassis, with engine character. Is it a real test for you to get everything as good as it can be?
Yeah, I mean, we the Suzuki team has a lot of experience with that bike, and I do as well. So we kind of know what works and what doesn't. So we always, wherever we go and whatever the conditions, we're always kind of in the ballpark. If somebody giving you a GP bike, like in pieces, and you have to put it all together and make it work, and you got no experience, that will probably be a big job. Yeah.
How long have you sort of been associated with the Suzuki MotoGP team and test team now?
2017, so from the start of 2017, so it's the 4th year.
So when you first began in 2017, was there a lot to learn then? Was it not so easy to work out how to progress?
No, not really. I tried the bike.
Okay.
The first test I tried it, it was a good test straight away. It was in Jerez, I remember. No, because I've got the track experience, and I also experienced GP bikes before with different manufacturers as well of tires. I kind of the Michelin I rode a while back, but I rode before, and so yeah, I would say no, like my experience helped in this respect.
Yeah, I mean, on that note, last night I was looking at your GP experience. God, you have raced at world level for 20 years for so.
Actually, I did yesterday. I had to send some because I'm doing a new website, so I had to send like a bio.
Yeah.
I felt really old.
No, I tell you, I was very impressed just reading through it. Incredible career.
Yeah, it's been good. I've been lucky to be able to make this my job for that long. So yeah.
What sort of feeling do you get when you do get a wild card ride and you go and perform in front of fans and sample all the sort of glory of racing?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's good to do the wild cards. It's because the race is different. But I mean, because I'm not doing the full championship, it is different when you don't do the full championship. And I enjoy it very much, and it's good for my rhythm, for the testing. It helps, and that's why we do it. But it doesn't feel there's not as much like pressure, or it doesn't feel like like if you do the full championship. But I absolutely love it. It's great. It's always a great atmosphere. I mean, MotoGP races, everybody goes crazy. So yeah, it's good. And then when I can do a bit of a result, it's nice. I'm happy with it.
And by comparison, there's no glamour or a lot less glamour with testing. Does it ever get a bit tedious? Sometimes is it like a normal job?
No, not really. I mean, I've never really been there for the glamour thing. Really, I don't really. It doesn't really do anything to me.
Yeah.
I just enjoy riding bikes and being at the track and try and do well for whoever I'm riding for, and bond with my team and have some like good experience with that as people. And it's great to have all the fans and that, but I'm not really seeking this like the glamour side. So with the testing, I'm happy with that, and I also very much enjoy the races. And the thing, I've won like races before and stuff, so I know how it feels. So I don't feel like I've got a chip on my shoulder. So I'm really enjoying this job.
Do you get real satisfaction, for instance, when Alex won at Silverstone? I bet that was brilliant. And do you feel as though you've played a part in that?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we all do. Everybody in the Suzuki team plays a part. And like I play a part as well with testing and trying to bring some ideas and work out of this. So it's like it's like being what do you call it? In a chain, like you got loads of what do you call it?
Links.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's like a link in the chain. I felt, in Silverstone. I mean, I was really happy because I thought I did a really good race as well. So I was really happy. I managed to beat a few of the like regular guys, so I was like, for me, it was great. And then when I got there, I saw they won. It was like, whoa, like really, really, really happy. All the team were going crazy. The guys that so Joan's crew that looked after me because I was replacing him, they were super happy. They were super happy because we won, and it was just such a great day for all of us. Yeah.
What sort of relationship do you have with Alex and Joan?
So, I mean, they're great, like young rider. They've got a lot of drive. They're actually really, really nice guys. So I get on very well with them. Yeah, and they're curious. They always like come and ask some stuff, and they want to play all the time. They play on the bikes. They always always in good spirits. So I get on really well with them.
But you have a close professional relationship, don't you? You talk about the bike and the developments of it quite a lot with them.
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, I don't tell them everything because they don't need to know everything.
Okay, can you? I don't want you to give me a specific example necessarily, but can you talk in general terms about what you wouldn't want to tell them?
You don't really. They for them it's important to not get lost into thinking that something might be better or they need to concentrate on what they have, because what they have anyway, the team is looking after them. So it's not for me to bring any doubts in their minds or anything like that.
When you work with your technicians, do you make suggestions sometimes, or do you have to do as you're told more often than not?
Oh no, we it's very open with ideas, and we all share ideas and even the bad ones. It's important to have this attitude, I think, as a test team. So we're all very open, into not all and everything. I mean, we try and like focus the energy like on what matters. But yeah, no, we're very very open with everything. Yeah, we discuss everything, and sometimes we even discuss like some things that might be better for Alex or for Joan, and we try to really get like a big picture of the whole thing.
I mean, on that note, are you setting the bike up for those guys? How different are Alex and Joan's preferences for certain things? And do you know sometimes when you're testing something that it will suit either one of them more or less?
Sometimes you can get you can get an idea of, because of their riding style and their attitude on the bike, and some like in the past things that they've liked more or less. You can get like an idea of, oh yeah. Sometimes I would say, oh yeah, maybe this could be really good for Alex, or maybe Joan will like that. But it doesn't go that far. Then they can what we select, they can then make their mind up. That's another part of my job, like selecting stuff that might be of interest.
Does it please? I'm sure you've heard this yourself, but does it please you to know that both Alex and Joan speak highly of you and your influence over their results?
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
It's nice of them because they don't have to. They are the main guys. They don't have to. But again, that's part of the spirit in the team. Everybody's like really close together, and we're working all together to get these results. So, but yeah, it's nice that they do mention it, and they have nice words to say. Yeah.
And you talked earlier about the fact that you need to ride very hard. Is every test lap like a race lap?
Yeah. Well, what we do, I mean, when you test, you never really. I mean, the thing is, like pro riders, if you're like a second off of what you can do, you actually feel like you're going quite slow. So you never really test more than like aware more than that. You're always kind of there because everything feels natural to do it that way. So we're not there to. It's not a holiday.
How often do you do a race distance, Silvan?
Not very often. Sometimes we do like longest run, depending on what we have to test.
Yeah.
But never race distance. Not very often.
However, will you test a bike in end of race condition, like with worn tyres and low fuel?
Yeah.
How technically minded are you, Sylvain? I would imagine a lot with your experience. And is that a crucial quality required in a test rider?
Well, I mean, the quality in test rider, you need to know what's going on. You need to try and understand what's going on, and you need to feel what's going on, feel what's going on the bike and what might be different. You need to understand where the difference come from, because obviously lap after lap your tires are getting used, you're getting less fuel, so you need to try and you need to understand where the increase or loss of performance come from what you're testing. So yeah, but I'm generally quite. I don't know why. I just feel a lot from the bike. So this is good quality to have for to be a test rider.
And talk to me about electronics. It's a word that we hear so often. Sometimes I think race fans get the impression that if you're good with a white lab coat and you understand electronics a lot, you are bound to do better. Do they govern the performance of the bike so much these days?
No, they're important because obviously managing that power is important, but they don't really. It's not the main factor. No.
Okay. What sort of things do they influence? Engine braking, power delivery.
Yeah, so you can obviously set your engine brake, how like the strength that you want, and you can set that for the whole like braking phase, and then you can set the power delivery as well. You can have like different modes of power delivery and that, but you can feel the differences but they don't govern the thing. They're not the main thing. They're just there to like basically take the edges off.
What dictates a good day's testing and a bad day's testing? What give me an idea of a good day and one that's not so good?
Well, a bad day is the worst you can get is if you plan to do some chassis testing, for example, and then it rains, or you get like mixed track condition or wet patches and stuff like that. So you can't really. It's like a waste of time. So that'll be a bad day when you just can't get things going. And a good day is just when it's most days testing are good because you just get going, stick to the schedule, and have a good day testing, finding out loads of information.
How big is the team, Silvan?
It's just like a race team. So we have 3 mechanics. My crew chief Tom O'Kane. We have the engineers. So Sada-san, my electronic engineer. Then we have everybody in the background. So it's just as big as It's actually there's a lot of people.
How easy is it to communicate with your technicians and engineers? I mean, do you have a certain language that you speak in terms of technical terms? And does it take time for them to learn you and what you're saying and for you to understand them and what they're saying?
Yeah, I think what you said is relevant. There's more maybe like at the start because when you come off the bike, you to give your feelings. It's every rider has his own way, and his own words to describe what they feel. So probably that's where the most like they need like a translation. They need like a Google Translate for riders. Sometimes we talk a lot of shit. So they probably that's the. But now we understand. Like now, I just get off the bike. I think they just look at me and they know straight away. I mean, we generally have fun. I mean, it's not like even though we accomplish a lot of work, we're still, still relaxed and still joking and chilling with everybody and with with everybody, the guys from the team, the Japanese, the engineers. We constantly just there's a really good atmosphere. There's things that are better to test than others. I don't know, something really cool, and then sometimes it's just like stuff that is not as exciting.
I mean, can you spend half a day testing a new fork or something like that, or a new swing arm, or?
Not. I mean, no. Normally, I mean, you for stuff like that. For most stuff, we never spend that much time to. You just know a lot quicker than that. You know what works and what doesn't. So you.
Sure. What does take a long time to get right then, Sylvain?
The longest is probably the engine because we really, really need to be sure. So there is a lot of work that goes on, on the track, and then as well when coming back for the engineers, then they have to analyze everything and just be very sure that this is the correct, that what we're saying is and what we're planning is the correct thing to do.
Yeah. So I mean, are you flying or riding all the time?
Not really. It depends. Sometimes are much busier than others. For me, the summer is very busy because so the last 2 years been very busy because I also do the 8-hour Suzuka and race there. So I do the testing there. Normally we have like this Barcelona at the end of June. Then there's a test after Barcelona. Then there is last year was super busy. The year before I went to Japan for a month, and then last year I did the back and forth. So yeah, we had Barcelona, testing Barcelona, and testing Suzuka with the 8 hours, so the Yoshimura bike. And then we had a test in Motegi. And then we had the 8 hour Suzuka. And then the week after was Brno, for which after Brno I had a 2-day test as well. So yeah, so the summer is very, very easy. And then last year I had that, and then there was Silverstone because Joan hurt himself at the test in Brno. So I did the Silverstone race as well. So it depends. Yeah, sometimes it's very busy, sometimes there's big gaps.
You have 5 children. If you weren't a busy tester, would you have 10?
I don't know. Yeah, we're busy. We're busy at home as well with all the children.
Yeah, man, your life sounds impossibly busy. It's crazy.
Nah, it's not that bad. It's like the children. They're good. They look after themselves a lot. And then my wife is great. She looks after them really well.
Good.
And yeah, now they have to do school. So 2 of them, the 2 big ones, they can do the computer thing, and then the little ones we like homeschooling them, and then the rest of the time we just play, or they on Fortnite or something, ruining the internet connection for us.
Do you think this lockdown and this virus, this global problem, will affect the GP season, the test team, the way Suzuki go about things? Do you think there will be some consequences?
To this day now, we don't really know how long this is going to last, and what are going to be the consequences when we can finally get back on track. So we just don't know, do we?
Well, I hope you get back on track soon, Silvan, and thanks for taking us inside the world of a MotoGP test rider. Certainly not a part-time occupation, is it? I'm also not surprised Suzuki's Grand Prix fortunes have been steadily improving thanks to Silvan's input and dedication. After the 2 wins in 2019, I wouldn't bet against there being more this year. Thanks to you also for joining us on the Inside Line podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to make sure you don't miss out on the next episode, when we'll be talking to 3-time BSB champion John Reynolds. See you then.